And we are live. Drew, the Celtics versus Pacers game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals just ended seconds ago. First reactions, reviews, recaps of this game. That's what we're going over right here, right now. How do
I'm going to
you...
keep this short,
Yeah, I want to hear
simple,
it.
and to the point. My man JAYLEN is a bad man. He was all over him. He was in the corner. He didn't have space. The man rised up, sunk the most important shot of his career so far, maybe. I know that may be a lot because this is
Yeah.
game 1, but the Celtics cannot drop game 1 to the Pacers at home. They could not do it. They tried to put them away multiple times today. They just kept coming back. But at the end, the number 1 seed held out, and they're up 1-0.
Yeah, man. Honestly, looking at it, Jaylen Brown completely revitalized himself in this fourth quarter because going into the fourth, so my first 3 quarters reaction was Jaylen needs to have a much more efficient game when looking forward to game 2, 3, 4. He needs to be more efficient. We need to slow it down, take more shots. We don't need to force so many things. And that doesn't just go for Jaylen. That's just focused on Jaylen because he's the number 2, sometimes the number 1 option on this team, depending on the night. That was the main thing I was taking away. In the fourth quarter, he completely turned it around. He shot 50% from the field as a whole in the entire game, but he completely turned himself around in that fourth quarter. And obviously, that last shot completely, let us go into overtime and take the W. When we're looking at the number 1 here, Jason Tatum played a great game. He had 36 points, 3 steals, 4 assists, 12 rebounds. He was 10 for 12 from the free throw line, 2 for 8 from the three-pointer line, and 12 for 26 from the field. So overall, I want to see going forward for the Celtics a little bit more of an efficient game because we have a couple of issues here. Al Horford, 5 for 15, 3 from 12 from three-point. There was a couple shots that Al put up. I'm not sure if you noticed where he, when Al Horford goes up, he kind of has like a wonky release. When he was doing those quick releases, he didn't have that same wonky release. And when I noticed it, every time he missed, he didn't make a single one of those quick release shots. I don't know what the thought was there. I know the Pacers play fast, number 1 in the league. We can play with them, but we don't have to play to that level of speed. Slow it down just a little bit. We could still play quick. We could still play great defense. We're the best defensive team in this league. Top 3, if you want to argue about it. We don't have to play to the speed of these guys because the Pacers are going to push and push and push. That's what they did to the Knicks, and the Knicks tried to play to that speed, and they lost because of that, and a bunch of other factors. But we don't have to do that as well. That's what I want to see going forward. It was a great game from Jason Tatum. Jaylen Brown again turned himself around. Al Horford locked up Miles Turner a lot of the times. When Miles Turner was getting off shots and he was playing well, it was against Luke Kornet. He did not match up well against Luke Kornet. Or Luke Kornet didn't match up very well against Miles Turner at all. That was kind of concerning. So looking forward to get Kristaps Porzingis back. Hopefully game 4 is the outlook. What do you think about the defensive matchups for Al Horford? I know you were making some comments about, I know we usually play Al Horford on the bench, but you were making some comments about maybe keeping him out there, specifically maybe for Miles Turner.
Well, I thought Miles Turner actually played pretty well. Tyrese Halliburton, I think his defense in this game, it slacked off a little bit towards the end, but I thought he at least brought the intensity that he needed to bring. The overarching theme of this series, which is really exciting, is the Celtics shoot an ass ton of threes, right?
Absolutely.
I don't have the stats right in front of me, so I'm sure the comment section is going to be talking crap later, but I think the number 1 or number 2 team in the league with the amount of threes they shoot. And then what do the Pacers want to do? The Pacers are running off of made baskets. Forget the missed opportunities. They're running off of made baskets. So how does the Celtics offense with all these threes and this ISO stuff they're going to do coincide with the Pacers just getting out and running? And for 47 minutes and 55 seconds, it looked like the Pacers were going to pull this out. But, that's 16 playoff games with 25 plus points each is the second most by a duo in Celtics history behind Larry Bird and Kevin McHale.
Yep.
Tatum and Brown.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus, that's a crazy stat.
some people don't. It's hard to forget that Tatum and Brown have been this duo for this long.
for a long time.
They've
Yeah.
had a lot of success together. I know no final success, but a lot of general success with each other in the playoffs, regular season. Just can't bring that chip home quite yet. Hopefully, this year is the year.
Well, we were talking about Malcolm Brogdon,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, we just
Like
were.
you got Kyrie Irving, you got Isaiah Thomas, you
Yep,
got uh old dude that you guys paid a bunch of money to that broke his leg. Um, gosh, what's his name? Gordon Hayward.
yep,
This Celtics team has been around for a long time trying to get over the hump,
yep.
and
All the
man,
rotating pieces.
they sure look primed to definitely get to the finals. At the man, they just keep showing that Jaylen Brown shot. Just the defense on that play was fantastic.
Yeah,
Like you couldn't, I know the internet's like, why didn't they foul? Why didn't they foul? Why didn't they foul? And like I told you, the Pacers have had this situation a couple times in the playoffs already, and they have not fouled. And with so much time left on the clock, but man, he raised right up, right in the defense's face and sunk that three. That was just fantastic.
yeah. What surprised me about the Pacers, looking at them, is that little 2-man action, the give and go that they like. Not the give and go, but that little between, whether it's Miles Turner or it's Pascal Siakam, that little mid-range free throw jumper that they like to do with Tyrese
Mm-hmm.
Halliburton. They didn't really connect on it, and they didn't really run it a whole lot until the second half, and it was hitting. So I'm not sure what the entire last series, worked really well from game in and game out. So I'm not sure what the game plan was of kind of, it's a game one, you're testing the waters on what will and will not work, but they didn't go right to it. And this is something that they've done all season. So a little confusing that they didn't go right to it in the first half to try to set the tone, because if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But why would you wait to do it until the second half of the game? I know it's close, but you could have gotten out to maybe a lead instead of, being tied, being a little bit down. It makes all the difference in the world. So a little confused on what the Pacers were doing there, between that, the play calling there. So
Well, so much of their offense relies on Tyrese Halliburton being one of the best offensive initiators in the league. He's lethal in the pick and roll, and their free flowing offense and what they like to do, get out and run and all that stuff. A lot of it's just based on the freedom, and when it bogs down into the half court, that pick and roll, that mid shot that you were talking about is obviously a big part of what they do. But when you have an on-ball defender like Drew Holiday
yeah,
trying to gum up everything and forget the defense, my man, 28 points, 8 assists, 7 rebounds tonight. That's a season high in points for him, and he almost has a triple double to go with it.
yep,
On top of the defensive intensity, at the end there, he gets in Tyrese Halliburton's chops and he turns the ball over. And even at the game, even the play at the end of the regulation when Tatum switches on to Tyrese and plays amazing defense, and he just hucks up that no chance of a, Luka Hail Mary there. The Pacers need to figure out some clutch time offensive sets that they can run. They're going to be effective against the Celtics team, because if it's going to bog down into Tyrese just hoping to make magic, it's going to be an unsuccessful proposition for them. And the other flip side to this for the Celtics is this was great for them to get this win, to grind it out,
yeah,
to come
definitely,
down to the end, pull it out. I mean, I think the Celtics blew like 4 different 12-point leads down the stretch here.
yep,
They looked like they were going to pull away. The Pacers came back, but you can't say, "Hey, I want the Celtics team to prove it to me. Hey, I want the Celtics team to win in the clutch. Hey, I want the Celtics team to show me that they can, do it when it matters." But then on the flip side, be mad that they were giving up the leads. Like that's what
right,
happens in the NBA.
yep,
So I think we learned a lot with this game tonight. I think we learned that the Pacers aren't going away, and
yeah,
I think we learned that the Celtics can get it done when they need to. So, man, I gotta be honest, I'm so stoked for an awesome game one. I did not
yeah,
want to see a
definitely.
30-point blowout, a 20-point blowout. Secretly, deep down inside me, I'm sorry. I was hoping the Celtics were going to lose so I can hop on here and talk a bunch of shit. But then you would just say, well, where are the Kings at? So maybe I spared myself some embarrassment by them winning tonight.
Going to the couple of the blown leads thing that you mentioned, this is kind of the Celtics bread and butter, feels like, in the worst
Oh, yeah.
way. When it happens the most when shots aren't falling. That's always what happens when the shots aren't falling, which live and die by the 3 ball, and we also play the third most amount of ISO ball in the league. behind teams like the Suns, who have a bunch of
Mm-hmm.
ISO ball players. So we live and die by that, right? And you mentioned it a couple of weeks ago. You're like, oh, it might be a little bit hard watching, the Celtics and then watching like the Timberwolves and Nuggets while they're running plays. I mentioned, I'm like, dude, just feed Ant. What are you doing? He has a hot hand. It's like, oh, well, they're running
Right.
plays and they're getting other people involved. When I'm used to, if Jaylen Brown has the hot hand, if Jason Tatum has the hot hand, if someone has the hot hand on the team, we're feeding them and we're playing ISO ball. Like, that's what we're doing every time. We live and die by that. So if it's not working out for us, there's a couple of key pieces that aren't playing well, then the games get close or we end up losing. I don't think, again, Jaylen Brown didn't have a significantly great game. You look at the box score, it tells you differently. But if you watch the game for the first 3 quarters, there's a lot of boneheaded mistakes that didn't need to be made. Again, it all gets relieved and it all doesn't really matter as soon as he makes that shot and as soon as he has that great fourth quarter. So again, this is kind of the bread and butter with them. We live and die by it. It's something that I've seen year in, year out, whether that's Mazzulla, Ime Udoka, like whoever is coaching us, Brad Stevens, whoever's doing it, we always end up doing this, right? This is just what we do. So I'm not really too concerned about the blown leads thing. It happens time and time again.
Yeah, you know what? Jaylen Brown 0 for 3. 0 for 3 from 3. Well, that's a tricky one. 0 for 3 from 3 going into that shot that he hits to force the game into overtime.
Yep.
You get 8 total turnovers from Tatum and Drew Holiday. That's not great, but you got 30 assists to 14 turnovers on the game, so 2-to-1 ratio.
Yeah.
Not the best in the world, but we'll take it. 43 rebounds. Your 3-point percentage, 15 of 45, 33%. We'll take all that stuff. I mean, on paper, it's all the statistics are good. The Pacers had 21 turnovers. That's obviously something that they're going to point to. But they shot 37% from 3. They shot over 50% from the field. So this was actually a really good offensive game for the Pacers, minus the turnovers. And I wonder if deep down inside, I'm not going to call this series over because there's some really entitled Mavericks fans in the mentions that have some words for me based off of what I said about Luka a couple episodes ago. Not that I said he was trash. I just said I didn't like to watch it. Whatever. I'm not going to call this over, but did the Pacers, let me ask you this. Did the Pacers just give the Celtics their best punch? Did you guys just take the Pacers' best round and come out with the victory here? Do they have something else they can bring to the table in the next couple of games to change the outcome of this series?
I think there's another level to it. If you look at the guys on this team, like I don't think that you're getting Naismith isn't turning the ball over 5 more times in the next game. I don't think Miles Turner is doing 4 more turnovers in the next game. Tyrese Halliburton with 3 is probably where he's roughly at, and I think that's fine. I think this isn't their best. I think they could play a little bit better, and it has nothing to do with their field goal percentage or 3-point percentage, or it has everything to do with just taking care of the ball just a little bit more. Honestly, they pushed the pace exactly how they wanted to. They played the game how they wanted to. It's just the couple of small things, right? I mean, it's a 6-point, or 5-point victory for the Celtics. This isn't a huge margin. It had to go to overtime for this. I think they could play a little bit better, take care of the ball a little bit more, and I think that they can pull out victories. I mean, you text me before the series started, can they win? Yeah, they can win a game. I think so for sure, and I thought about it more and more. I know you asked me if they can win a second one. I never answered it because we got into something else, but, it's possible. Again, when we played them in the regular season, 2 of the games were decided by 5 points or less. Now, those other games that the Celtics won, they were decided by 10 points or more, including like a 155-107 victory against the Pacers, where they like pulled out all of their starters in like the fourth quarter when it started. So it's possible. They've beat us before by really close margins. If they can continue this, take care of the ball, you're going to see a really, really good series where, again, I think they could take 2 games. But I think that's the very most. I think this series goes to 6 maximum. I don't think it really goes to 7. So before we wrap it up, do you have any final thoughts, opinions before we move on to only our second thing that we're going over today?
Yeah, I'm just scrolling through social media just to kind of get a feeling of what people are saying out there, and it looks like a lot of people are kind of being pretty critical of the Celtics here and the way they played. And I'm looking at some of these post game quotes, and Jaylen Brown says, So a reporter asked Jaylen Brown why he doesn't seem happy. He said, "Would you be? We almost dropped a game on our home floor. We need to come out and be better in game 2." Like, this is what I would say to maybe Celtics fans or people that are being critical of the way the Celtics played. Tatum went for 35 or 36. Jaylen Brown came out and hit a massive shot. Drew Holiday showed up, and none of them play. I got to tell you, Tatum's shot selection down the stretch in the fourth quarter was fucking terrible. I was like, wait a minute, what are we doing? Like, none of this is good. Tatum, what are we doing?
Tatum and Brown had the polar opposite games. Great through 3 quarters for Tatum, and then swapped it with Brown for some reason.
Yeah, I can sit here and criticize 1,000 things that the Celtics did in the fourth quarter down the stretch here.
Yeah.
But what happened, man? They went into overtime and they won. Like, do we expect the Celtics to shit the bed like this in the next game? No, we don't. The Pacers just played a really good game. They snatched defeat from the jaws of victory with that play at the end of the fourth quarter where they, dribbled it off their foot or whatever.
Yeah.
And, I got to tell you, I will tell you this. If it's a sweep or it's a gentleman's sweep, as long as the games keep looking like this, I'm in, because this shit is so exciting. I just, the one thing I got to say, I hope that Minnesota and Dallas can deliver tomorrow, because if this is the Eastern Western Conference Finals we're going to get and the NBA Finals we have in front of us, this is going to be an exciting 2 weeks of basketball.
Absolutely. And just one last thing for everybody out there before we move on. When it comes to the people being critical of the Boston Celtics, 90% of it comes from their fans. Do me a favor, if you have Facebook, if you have Instagram, go to the Boston Celtics, and when it's a victory or a loss, click on the comments, and everybody is thinking that the world is ending. We have the 1 seed. We're the best team in the league. We're supposed to be the best team in the league, right? But people have off nights. It does not matter to these people. They're the most critical fans I have seen. It's ridiculous. It's not delusion like on the flip side with Cowboys fans. It's just the absolute biggest critical shit I've ever seen. It's so insane, and I have to stay out the comment section when it comes to a loss or even a really, really close victory for the Boston Celtics. So if you want to, have yourself a time tonight, go to Facebook, go to Instagram, click on the comment section of those, and it gets really, really bad.
Oh my gosh, that inbounds play to Pascal Siakam, that Jaylen Brown. You forget about that play too. Jaylen Brown knocks that ball off of Siakam's hands, and then he hits that 3 in the corner. I'm buzzing, man. Like, that was. I got on the stream early. I told you to get on so I could talk shit to you because the Pacers were about to win, and then he just hit that stone cold 3.
Yeah.
And Siakam's lucky he didn't get called for a foul there. Pascal Siakam, he wasn't on the All NBA defensive list anymore, was he?
He was further down than I was actually looking. Yeah, I was gonna say I was
making a joke. He wasn't on the list.
Definitely not a defensive guy. I know we brought that up in one of the Pacers videos a long time ago, talking about the trade, and I wasn't sure if he was gonna actually make a big impact defensively, and not really. So
the Pacers seem like they're missing something. Not to drag this comment but like Tatum, 35 points, Drew, 28 points, Jaylen Brown, 2 massive plays at the end of the fourth. Horford is killer. Derek White can go for 30. Oh, and hey, by the way, Kristaps Porzingis ain't even playing. He's been injured for half the playoffs. They have so much. And then you look at the Pacers, and I like Miles Turner. He's a good player, but he's not. He doesn't score in the fourth quarter. He doesn't have a ton of clutch points on the season. And then I said to you before we went live, I was like, if Tyrese isn't going to be able to get open on these ISO situations, they're going to have to go to Pascal, and he's going to have to make something happen. And then he did a spin into a double team and turned the ball over. So they seem like they're missing something. And nobody expected an Eastern Conference Finals berth from them except for maybe, the Pacers fans.